comes. And it's my pleasure to introduce Laurent Ledoux and also Moses Garelik from Brussels. They are representing this UniOne foundation in Brussels. Laurent is a long-time friend of us. He is collaborating with the European SPES from the very beginning, 20 years from now. And Moses is a co-founder of this UniOne foundation in Brussels. So, please.
Thank you very much. And I would like just to start thanking Luc Boucard, because he was my professor at university, and the biggest reason for why I'm here is because of Luc. Thanks. Thank you, Luc.
Thank you, Laurent. Thank you, SPES. If I may, on behalf of all of us, what an amazing 3 days together. I've learned so much listening to each one of you. With Laurent, we were discussing maybe to have less words, because we've seen so much information the last 3 days, so you can relax in this presentation. I mean it, you can even close your eyes if you really want to. As you can see in the word UniOne, in the logo you can see right on the top there's a dot. The basic philosophy is recognizing that each one of us is a uniqueness. Each and every one of us is unique, and united we can experience the one, the oneness. Not an abstract oneness, the one we've been pointing to for thousands of years, but actually an experience that we are all one. So rather than uniqueness versus or oneness, UniOne as a holistic experience. In order to go into this, we would like to just suggest, as you said, as we're all perhaps collapsing, if possible, at all our events or gatherings, we always start with a moment in silence. So if you're open to it, if it's easy, only if you wish, if it's easy with the eyes closed, take a few nice, intentional, deep breaths. And feel free to turn this into a moment, if for you it resonates more like prayer, meditation, contemplation, whatever it is that is right for you right now in the silence, feel free to experience it before we go on.
Thank you. Before talking about UniOne, we would like very briefly to tell you where we are coming from and how we came to this. So, very simply, my own journey started with this picture when I was 7. It was given to me by my judo professor, François Bassard, and he explained me what this great master of Kyudo was doing and saying. And basically, people were marveled because he was always hitting the target. And they were asking him, how can you do this? You're almost blind. And he simply answered, I don't shoot, it shoots. What does that mean? I could not understand, I was 7. But what he was saying is, I'm just one with the arrow, the bow, the target, and everything else. And basically, all my life, I've been trying to understand what this means. And through the ways, I've started to understand it mentally, but this is nothing. What you need to do is to get it in all your body, in all your being. And through the years, I've started to understand also better, thanks to Arnaud Desjardins. He's a spiritual leader whose own master was an Hindu philosopher, Swami Prajnanpad, and basically his whole philosophy And he says also, all spiritualities are aiming basically to only one thing, to be one with everything, with the whole of reality. So this has been my journey, and this is how basically I came across Moses, and we started this wonderful journey together.
Thank you, Laurent. And just to give you a very brief appreciation of the context where I come from, I was born in a Jewish family, but a rabbinical family, which means everyone in the family is expected to be a rabbi. And my father, great rabbi. And my father is one of the first of today what are considered 7,000 representatives of the great master, the Rebbe. And so I grew up, if I can say, in an elite position in this specific group. And as you can see, between these two wonderful, if I can call them angels, because I believe angels are human beings that are able to be enough disciplined to be more conscious than reactors. And so the little boy observing is this one standing in front of you. And so what I have, let's say the aquarium where I grew up in, was just to give you two basic thoughts so you can understand. I would observe my father on a daily basis being an average of 7 to 8 hours in prayer. I don't know if you can quantify this. On a daily basis, 7 to 8 hours of meditation, of prayer. So whenever he emerged into the world, he was always shining. He was always positive. He was always full of love. And all the stress and all the issues that were coming from around within the community, people around, were just melting. And so this is the environment I grew up in. Just to give one more aspect that I think some can appreciate, I'm part of a family of 7. I have 6 siblings. I'm the youngest of the 7. If you can meet all my brothers and sisters, in 60 years of our parents' marriage, none of us have ever seen them in an argument. So I'm just giving you a picture of growing in an environment where you never see your parents argue. This definitely comes from a very deep discipline. So all of this was the, as I'm calling it, the tree that I am the fruit of. This brought me to become a traditional rabbi. Up to 10, 12 years ago, I was an Orthodox rabbi, so the opposite, in black. And I was in charge of building and creating the whole European Jewish network of organizations in Brussels. And so from this, I moved on to a more universal approach. And that's when I had the amazing opportunity, for instance, to meet the Dalai Lama. And I just want to shortly share with you this moment. When I met with the Dalai Lama, you still see me dressed like an Orthodox rabbi. And so when I walked in, it was a meeting with him, but there were journalists and aides and other people in the room. And as soon as I walk in, he looks at me and he says, "Jew!" Here in Europe, you wouldn't say that, but if you know a little bit, His Holiness, he speaks this way, he's very direct. And he goes, "Jew!" And I said, "No. Human being, aware of being unique and celebrating the oneness with all." And he turns around to the people around and says, "I never heard Jew talk like this." And so then I started sharing with him the project at that point, this is 15 years ago, of UniOne, which is basically accompanying human beings in experiencing the uniqueness while appreciating each other's uniqueness, while celebrating the oneness that we all are. And then he took my hand and said, "I am with you," which was a very powerful moment where I felt he resonated with where I was coming from, while I was coming from a Kabbalistic approach. Having this moment where the Dalai Lama says, "I am with you," I felt we're continuing together. And the same is that eventually this is an amazing moment at a saint's tomb in Morocco, where 100,000 Muslim people are gathered together, especially in today's situation in the world. Just imagine this one rabbi surrounded by 100,000 Muslim people. And it was a magic moment because I definitely have felt that I've been heard and listened by them and respected, and I obviously respect them very deeply. So beautiful moments of uniqueness in oneness, but still somehow within the religious space. So the basic philosophy behind this is very simple. Recognizing, and by the way, the last 3 days I just saw this in every single one of the presentations that I have been presented, that this is why we're keeping it short. Every single one of us has what we can call the amygdala, the reptilian brain, which is basically what we're going to call the me versus you, the part which is in survival, and because of it, we operate out of fear of me dying. And that's why we need to say my house, my wife, my children, my phone, my car, this possession, this domination. This is typically the needs of the me. Okay? Very often in spiritual paths, we've been trying to suffocate the me. We are here to say, let's take care of the me. If we understand what the me needs, this part, the survival mode, relaxes, and then something amazing happens. With some of you, and most of you, I feel from what I've heard from you the last few days, have had this experience, but not everyone knows yet what I'm talking about, which is you reach an experience which is considered the conscious I. The I am, the being, the observer. When the human being is brought from the me to the I, there is no more this internal conflict, which is typical of the me to be in conflict with the I, but rather from a conscious I state, we're able to be in serenity with me. Now bring individuals together, especially if we're sitting in a circle, and they all went through this process of recognizing the me needs, being the conscious I. There's a next stage that happens, which is what I call the stage of all, transcendence. Now I know everyone is coming here from different disciplines and different spiritual paths, so let's not get lost in translation. That's why we kept as few words as possible. It's more about the experience. Are we able to really recognize that each one of us has certain needs? Can we take care of them? Can we then let this aura shine, so be the conscious I, and together go into transcendence and go beyond? Thank you.
So, before getting into more details of what we do at UniOne, just would like to say that we fully resonate with the mission of SPES. Basically, we could make it our own. I won't read it, you know it, I'm sure, but it's important to remember this. Now, basically, we could say that what we do and what Moses just said could be applied to any spirituality. What we believe is that we consider that there is a uniqueness in each spiritual path. And at the same time, we don't want to fall into syncretism. We want to go beyond this. We want to celebrate each spiritual path, but at the same time, recognize the oneness of the me, I, all journey that is the essence of all those spiritual paths. And finally, what we also try to do is to make sure that there is what we could call distributed leadership, which means that at UniOne there is no priest, there is no higher figures, there is no guru, let's say. So we are beyond hierarchies. Okay. Now, what do we do concretely? Let's say that we have 3 stages of activities. The ones which we are currently doing, the ones we are preparing, and the ones for the future. The ones we are currently doing are training easers and organizing circles. We will go a little bit later about the circles as they function, but basically these are people gathering together to experience the I and possibly the all. And the easers are the people who are trained to facilitate this. As simple as that. Today we have about 50 easers across the world and about as many circles operating on a more or less daily, weekly or monthly basis. And everybody can become an easer. There is no hindrance. Just have to practice basically. Secondly, what we are currently developing are leadership programs. You could call them conscious leadership programs, but very culturally aware, so making possible links with existing spiritualities. And basically, all those programs are stressing or putting forward what we consider some universal values: self-awareness, presence, integrity, resonance, inclusivity, and transformation, meaning hereby the impermanence of everything. And they can be anchored or not, explicitly or not, in traditional spiritualities. And the next stage, this is for the coming future, it's to build physical centers. As such, the physical centers are not so important, but they can help to promote the possibility for any of us, anywhere, to experience this me, I, all journey. And basically, those centers would be structured, organized across those same ideas. So you would have the me floors where the needs of the me are satisfied, be they in terms of food, clothes, working, wellness, spa, etc. On the I floors, you would be taking more care of the I through possibly meditation, mindfulness exercises, and so on. And on the all floors, everybody could gather in silence to experience oneness. So this is basically what we do. Now let's go into more, kind of a few samples of some of the practices we propose through our activities. Moses.
So this is the point where if you want, you can look at the slides, but truly, if you want to keep your eyes closed, it's perfectly fine. Because the idea is, having heard the past 3 days so much information, so valid, instead of repeating ourselves, we just wanted to share some of the basic experiences that you can have through a UniOne process. And this is all based on Kabbalah. And so anyone who knows, usually Kabbalah is like very complicated and something esoteric that you can't really reach. And I just want to bring you into something extremely applicable and easy into day-to-day life that we train easers who bring other people into this experience, or for conscious leadership. So, in Kabbalah, there is a concept called the 5 worlds. Now, these are extremely complicated worlds to understand. And the basic idea is to recognize that sometimes we can see it on ourselves, but sometimes we observe it on someone else, that there is a gap between the being, who this person is, and what they're doing. So sometimes, I'll give a simple example, you'll see a doctor. You are coming and you're expecting this person to be a healer, someone who cares about people. And suddenly you might meet someone who's actually practicing medicine, doing medicine, but you feel there's a gap between the practicing medicine and who this person is. You're not in the presence of a healer, someone who really cares about you. Okay? Or you might meet a lawyer. So you're meeting someone who's practicing law, but it's not necessarily someone that you feel really cares about justice, that really cares to make you get to a point where you're going to feel that, yes, we live in a just world. So the simple example is, you might walk in the street and you might see someone jogging. You see them running. But you have the sense that they're not doing it because they want to. You know, someone at home, mom or the wife, someone kicked them out of the house, go jog. You see them doing it, but it's not a jogger who is jogging. So Kabbalah has basically 5 steps from what we call from the being to the doing. And if I can invite you, only if you wish, with eyes closed, take a moment to take a nice, intentional deep breath. And the idea is, when you're taking this intentional deep breath, are you able to be aware that you are here now? Are you still in your thoughts? Are you maybe planning something? Or are you in memories of the past? Or are you truly here now? Take a moment to see, am I being? Please don't get frustrated if I'm going to go quick on this. Just to get a taste. If right now your experience is one of I am, I'm here, I exist, this is what Kabbalah would call essence. You are now in a stage of essence. You're not doing something, you're actually being. From this first world, from this first stage, if you're actually being, you automatically go into stage 2. Which is emanation. What is emanation? So simple test for it. If I ask you now, while you're in this stage you're in right now, I ask you, look, we have some time here now together. What is possible? What can we experience? What's possible? If I ask you this question, how many potential answers are there to this question? What's possible now? Can I get an answer from someone? How many potential answers are there to what's possible now?
Infinite.
Infinite. Thank you. Anyone else?
As many as we are.
As many as we are. Infinite. As many as we are. Anyone who's answering infinite, as many as we are, is in emanation. Because in emanation is when you have access, you're aware of what I call the field of endless potentiality. I'll give you the simple test in another way. Imagine that I meet you on a very busy day. You're running from one appointment to the other. The next appointment is extremely important, and you're actually running very late to that appointment. So you're running very late to the very important appointment. And I meet you middle of the street and I go, what's possible? Right here, right now. Most probably the answer would not be anything. Limitless. No, let me go. Yeah, that's not emanation. Okay? Sometimes the contrast is easier to understand than the actual experience. So, let's go back. Stage 1 is when you're not really thinking, when you're not really doing, you're being. Essence. I am. From stage 1, automatically the field of endless potentiality is open. I am emanating. Okay. So now in this field of endless potentiality, everything is possible, including we can all book a ticket to Melbourne, Australia tomorrow morning. Is that a possibility? Yes, it's one of the possibilities. Okay? This stage of emanation can be a very blissful stage. Wow. You're in this limitless, experience. However, you probably won't get much done. So from this emanation, there's a choice that is possible, which is stage 3, which is creation. I can choose from all this endless field of potentiality to choose one specific creation, which it might be that after this talk, I choose to take a walk. So I know that I have endless choices, possibilities, but I will create a walk. From stage 3 creation, very important to move into stage 4, formation, giving a clear form to the creation. So will it be a walk where I'm going to take my sneakers and jog? Or do I want to go to the river and walk barefoot? Or do I want to take some heavy boots and go and hike a mountain? Those are all potential forms in the creation, but I choose to take the sneakers and jog. That's a specific form. So now let's go back. You could go through stage 1, I am present. Stage 2, emanation, I'm fully aware of all the potentiality. Stage 3, I create a walk. Stage 4, I know it's going to be with sneakers, and you're still laying in bed. Nothing has happened yet. Stage 5 is manifestation. Manifestation is when you actually get up of bed, put on those sneakers, and start jogging. Whoever went through these 5 steps, when you're going to watch them jog, you're going to see a being that chose to do. This being is jogging because this is a choice, not because I had no choice or I don't even know why I'm doing this. If I can invite you all for a moment, take a nice deep breath. And just see if you can apply this either to your daily routine or specifically to this weekend, to these 3 days we spent together. What is it that from present I do I take from the endless amount of information that I got, and then what will I create? How will I turn into form? And then what will I manifest? Rather than just coming back from a conference and then just being overwhelmed by the amount of information you get. So now I just want to share with you 3 what I call ancient practical solutions to shift self into an I state. This is simple stuff that you will see. You might have heard it more in a religious environment, but I just want to show you how this is very practical. First solution is what we call in Hebrew neshama. Neshama is the soul. Now, in English, or when you see in Christian literature, you don't really see this connection. That's why I brought the Hebrew. Neshama as soul is the same word as neshima. As you know, in Hebrew, there's no vowels originally. So the same word for soul is a conscious breath. So anyone who knows about breathing, I'll be very simple about this. When you're not aware of your breath, the basic breathing is something that we do from the me state. It's basic survival. So even if you don't think about breathing, you will be breathing throughout the day. Who is breathing? Me. It's instinctive. When you actually make a choice and a conscious, intentional breath, when you go, who is breathing now? Conscious I. So it's a very simple technique how to shift from me to I. If you are in a situation where you're reacting, where you're driving and someone just cut you off, so you're in reactor mode, which is me, take a nice intentional deep breath. And automatically you're giving the steering wheel to the conscious I. Now the conscious I can observe the me, which is reacting, the anxiety, the anger, whatever the emotion that is going through. So simple, practical, anyone can do this. You don't have to go through tens of years, neither of theology or of university, to figure this one out, but it takes practice. Second solution, the basic idea of circles. You probably know in Judaism there's a concept of praying in what the basic original idea was the church. If you go back in the original scripture of the church was not a building. The church was a group of people that got together. So the basic idea of recognizing that when we are together, if it's a whole bunch of me's, ego me's, we can wage war. We can bring a lot of damage. The same goes if it's all the I's together, conscious I's, when this aura flows, and then all the other auras flow together we experience transcendence, the all, which is experienced in a circle. So please, whenever you can, get together with fantastic human beings that are being. Thank you. Third is Shabbat. You might have heard this in a religious concept, Saturday, Shabbat. Shabbat's main idea is realize that most of what's happening in society, including specifically technology, is constantly going to bring you into reactor mode. Me reacting. The phone starts ringing, me react to it. Shabbat is the basic idea to say, I disconnect from all of it. It does not have to be Friday night and Saturday. That was an idea to try to start bringing in some training. At any moment of your life, it could be any day, at any time, anywhere. Bring this sabbatical energy into yourself, which is get away from everything that is putting you into reactor mode. Then you're going to be conscious I, creator. Third, automatically, if you are in this Shabbat space, you will experience Shalom. You probably heard people saying Shabbat Shalom. It's not just a way to say things on Saturday. It's a process. If you are present, Shabbat, you got away from everything that is moving you constantly into reactor mode, you will experience Shalom, which is inner peace. If each one of us experiences inner peace, well, you know what comes next. Peace for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Moses. So basically, this is it, and I think we are just on time, Laszlo. We just want to thank you for listening to us. We would really welcome your feedback, knowing your questions, and also possibly maybe we can collaborate. Because what Moses just expressed, he did it from his experience with Kabbalah, but we are sure it can be done out of any other spirituality. Thank you very much.